All right, guys, welcome back. So we're actually going to start just a couple minutes early because it's still snowing like crazy here, and I would hate for us to lose any time together with the signal or anything like that. So let me know in the chat if I start to break up, start to lose connection or whatever. I'd rather just kind of end the show. I don't want this is all the good stuff, so I don't want anything to be missed or anything like that. You know him, you love him. Primal Mobility junkie, as I like to call him, one of my favorite junkies. Steve, welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming back.
Thank you. It's also snowing here. Like it's gotten worse in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't know how close we are in proximity, but it's a big system, or we just happen to be like doing the same thing.
Where are you again? Where are you located again?
I'm on the East Coast of Canada.
Yeah. East Coast, New York.
East Coast,
we're close. We're close. We're close. Well, I am going to start with this one because I feel like this is just the perfect image and the perfect segue into our conversation today. So, all right, here we go. Let's take that music off because we'll get demonetized already.
Yep. Oh man, I remember that one.
Such a perfect well, one, that's how my morning was. I was shoveling all morning. So, but I have been relating so much to your reels that you have been sharing, because I feel like our journeys are so linear in so many ways. And so when you share things like this, you know, your caption talks about like being prepared, right? And you very much highlight that when we talk about primal mobility is the preparedness that it sets you up for everything, not just the fancy shit, as you call it in this reel, in the gym, but just life. And not having to worry if you reach for something that your back is going to get thrown out, or having to stretch. You know, you were talking about in here, like not having to warm up before you shovel. Like this morning I went out and I shoveled for over 2 hours and my back does not hurt at all. And it's all because of primal mobility.
Yep.
It really, really is. Can you remind us, how long did you have your back pain? I forget. How long were you dealing with that?
Oh, it's a good question because I feel like I kind of like always had on and off back pain for like probably like a decade, but it was really exacerbated when I actually did start CrossFit because all of a sudden, just like all this intensity and volume really just exposed a weakness that I had had for a long time. I specifically recall going into 22.2. Was that the one burpees, and it was the ascending 1 to 10 burpee over bar and deadlift.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I on that workout specifically, I think let's just say I placed like, I don't know, 70th percentile across the open, whatever that year. I think on that workout specifically, I placed like 30th because I was too afraid to push it with any intensity.
Yeah.
Deadlift. I was just like, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna take it really slow. And I took it so slow for my level anyway. And I think it was around that moment where it kind of like finally clocked with me that, oh, I'm actually like afraid of these things, and the back pain is starting to actually impact all the stuff from CrossFit. So from there, I started to explore and dive into a little bit more about back pain, going to see a massage therapist, chiro, and that's when I started really expanding my horizons around the pain.
Yeah, 22.2. Yep, I remember that one. I actually was not able to do that workout RX, and I was very much like you. So I did it at 95 pounds.
Yep.
And I barely got into, round, I think it was 9 on the way up, not 9 on the way down. And I remember that fear. Just terrified to be like, I can't do it. And you think the adrenaline is going to, get you through. And I think it does in a way. But when that fear comes in, it's a whole nother level.
Well, I mean, when you're self-aware of what happens with the adrenaline, you kind of like remove from it. You're like, I know I'm not going to let myself get into the open fever of just like full send. Who cares what happens in my body? You know what's going to happen. So you kind of actively remove yourself from that. Like, no. I know you're yelling at me to go, but no.
Yeah, exactly. And so you were saying that you started to really look into back pain, and what kind of research were you doing?
It wasn't so much research. It was kind of just like, well, I went to see a massage therapist, and that was the first brush I had with understanding that a lot of the symptom has nothing to do with the root cause, right? So I think the massage therapist explained to me it's not your lower back, it's your right glute, it's your left hamstring, and it's causing that the little weird stuff going on, and that kind of like made me realize, okay, there's more to this than just my back hurts. And they specifically programmed me. Well, I shouldn't say program, the massage therapist, maybe outside of her scope, was like, dude, try this one movement.
Yeah.
And it was a half lotus on a wall. So it's kind of like a figure four
Oh,
position,
yes.
the leg externally rotated.
Yep.
And I did that. I spent probably about like 10 minutes a day in each side in that position. And it was a game changer. It kind of loosened things up for me enough that it wasn't debilitating.
Mhm.
And that kind of like was the first spark in the line of getting to Primal, of like understanding how the body is starting to work, and was like, okay, this is interesting. Now I still had a brush with back pain in terms of deadlifting and just doing way too much volume, not warming up appropriately, doing Friday Night Lights and just saying, fuck it, let's see what
Yeah.
happens. And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden you deadlift 185 and, which is not heavy. So you're like, don't really need to worry about technique or bracing, and the back goes. And that was my next serious, I can't even stand at 90 degrees. Like I'm, hunchback of Notre Daming around my house for a week,
Yep.
which was like, I can't even work. So that
Right.
was like another moment where it kind of just clicked with me that like I need to take this seriously, because the whole point of CrossFit really is to fight decrepitude. And here I am, basically a decrepit old man on my
And
couch,
putting yourself
unable to
there.
do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, and putting yourself back into that
Mhm.
position, and I get that, and I understand, we're talking about the Open. We're in the week. We have a couple
Mhm.
more days, and then we're gonna find out what 26.1 is, and we're all excited, and I'm very excited to go into this Open in terms of my back and my hip, like, feeling like the best that I have felt in a very long time. As you guys
Mhm.
know, I shared with you guys the other day, I all of a sudden am experiencing some wrist and hand pain, but I've been leaving it alone. I've been icing it and really not doing much to it. But I'm hoping that it maybe was just a little overdone, or I'm very flexible in like a front rack position, as you guys can see. So carrying that load on my hands, because I'm working with my coach to not allow it to sit
Mhm.
too far back, because I'm just holding, I PR'd my front squat the other day at 175, and I'm just holding that all the way back here with the flexion that I have. And I don't have the strength to compensate for that. So I'm working on that. Hopefully it'll be fine by the Open. Um, but the excitement of being back, and I love that you brought up 22.2 with, wanting to be there, feeling the energy and whatever, because that's exactly what I did last year. I forget which one it was. I think it was week 2, where it was a bunch of wall walks. I think rowing was in there. There were a bunch of deadlifts at I think 155, and then there was cleans or
Thrusters, right?
snatches
I thought it was
at
thrusters. I can't even remember the workout now.
that one. No, that one was like a play on Fran. It was chest to bar, I think thrusters. Anyways, whatever it was a bunch of deadlifts that I should not have done, and I did them at 155. And when I tell you I felt pain in every single rep, like I had no reason to do that. I had absolutely yes, this one, the 25 deadlifts at 155 almost broke me. Like literally, if there was any more, I probably would have ended up back. Like I would have ended up in the hospital. But
Mhm.
I was so excited to be back, and I wanted to just be able to do it. And I put myself right back where I was before I had gotten back into CrossFit. And obviously this is before I found you guys. And again, getting to that root cause. But I remember going in and stretching for, like, I told Garrett, I was like, I need to get to this gym like 40 minutes before, because I need to roll and I need to stretch and I need to tape and I need to make sure that I'm ready. And I did one deadlift at 155 before we started, and I felt it then, and I should have been like, I'm not doing this. Like it doesn't make sense to do it. So I would love for you to talk about how you were able to kind of shift your mindset and perspective around, like, yes, the Open is amazing, and the magic of the Open, and wanting to show out and you test yourself. We love testing ourselves. But where is that line between throwing yourself into the fire and longevity?
That's a good question.
Or are we still figuring it out?
I think it's just preparedness, right? Like I think
Yeah.
it's the Open's so weird because like I used to be an online nutrition coach, right? And one of the arguments I always had was after the Open, we almost always identify some weaknesses we have, right? Whether, hey, we need to lose 20 pounds and that would make handstand push-ups and pull-ups a lot easier, or I need to work on my clean because God, that was awful, or I still haven't got a bar muscle up, even though I did zero work all year to actually attack it and get any better at it, or I didn't get double unders again this year. And then we kind of start formulating a plan after the Open of, okay, well, I'm going to do this, this, and this to improve that.
Mm-hmm.
And then after 3 or 4 weeks, I used to call it with my clients the CrossFitters New Year's resolution. Because
Oh, yeah.
3 or 4 weeks in after the Open, you would be all gung ho about all these things you want to improve. And then by June, you ask them, hey, how's that going? They're like, I stopped doing that months ago.
That left about a week and a half ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then come start of February, when
Yep.
we're looming about the Open and starting to think about, okay, it's coming up. What'd you do this year? It's like, I didn't do anything. Let me try to cram for this test. I think in a way it's very similar with mobility.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is that when the anticipation is coming, we get excited, we lock in, we start being consistent with what we're supposed to be doing. And then post, we also have I guess maybe not embarrassment, and maybe in some cases there is a little bit of embarrassment. I know that sometimes when I couldn't do something, when I couldn't get my first ring muscle up, there was a sense of embarrassment. Not warranted, by the way, but it was just the way I felt. That would motivate me after to like, oh, I really need to get better at this, do X, Y, Z. Very similar with mobility. I think people say, oh, I'm not very mobile at this. I need to improve my squat depth. I got no rep by that person in class, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start attacking that, but then it falls off. Right.
Right.
So it's more about the work you do all year round that will actually give you what you need within those moments. Right. Yeah. Same thing with nutrition. Same thing with your fitness. Yes. You cannot be absent all year and then expect to see results or any improvement year to year.
Yeah. And I love that you brought that up because, Matt did a live with, oh God, and I can't think of his name right now, Justin from CBG Nutrition. And they were talking about like what to do to be prepared. The Open's around the corner and, and the one thing that Justin said that has really resonated with me is he was like, don't make a drastic change right now. Like and he was talking specifically about nutrition, but like, don't make a drastic change right now. If it's anything, maybe add a little bit more carbs, maybe just a little bit just to help with recovery and whatever, but don't make a dramatic change right now. And I've really been leaning into that notion right now because you can get too far ahead of yourself. Well, like you were just saying, the Open's around the corner. I have to do my very best. And in order to do my very best, I have to do all of these things. Well, you can't change 12 months worth of something in 6 weeks. You just can't. So going into workouts for my CrossFit gym, just the everyday workouts, I've been staying away from deadlifting on purpose because I was like, if I'm going to build up my capacity, one, my preparedness, second, but most importantly, my confidence, I cannot get flushed with the excitement of being in a class and the pressure, like you said, that nobody else puts on you except yourself. I took a step back and I was like, I cannot come to classes with deadlifts. With the Open coming around the corner, I did go to one class just to see. I'm like, let me see how I feel. I felt really good underneath the bar or in deadlifts. So let me see how I feel. And I did 30 deadlifts, I think it was, at 105 pounds in a workout with rowing and double unders. And I didn't start to feel pain until my last set because I knew I was getting tired and I knew I was breaking down. Mm-hmm. And you know what I did immediately after? Because I felt immediately and I was like, oh shit, take a breath. Because normally when you feel that pain, when you're coming from a background of pain, you're like, oh my God, I did something, I overdid it. But you know what I did? I laid down and I did the thoracic sweeps immediately. And it was tough. It was pretty painful. but I think I did 5 on one side, slowly rolled myself over because I'm just feeling it all in my back, rolled myself over, did it on the other side, and did that 3 times. Steve, I was able to get up on my own. Like, I was able to go through the rest of the day. And so for me, when I feel pain, I don't run from it anymore. I lean into it. And that has everything to do with Primal. Every
Yeah.
single fucking thing to do with Primal.
Yep. And I find the same thing as well. Just absolutely like leaning into everything. I found the same, to go back to your initial situation, or I don't know if it was an analogy, but talking about shoveling, right?
Yeah.
It was so often that my shoveling routine or habits as a Canadian would vary on the CrossFit programming that week, right? So if I
Oh,
had
really?
something like a hinge heavy
Yeah.
programming on a Monday and I needed to shovel, it's like, oh well, we're gonna wait till Tuesday or Wednesday
Yeah.
to shovel,
Yep.
because there's no possible way that I was gonna rep out something like Diane and then shovel for an hour, because my back would just I would be in so much pain that I just could not do it. And living in I'm just looking out the window right now.
As it's still snowing, I'm
As
looking out
it's
too. Yeah.
snowing, like blizzarding out like crazy. The fact that I could be in a location with so much snow, I was like, I can't do it today. I'm just not going to do that because of where I'm at physically. I was like, this doesn't make sense. What am I doing here? I'm just like destroying my body for a little bit of fitness. And it's not to say that it's the wrong way to go about it. I just think it's like my attitude was all wrong and my approach was wrong.
Yes.
Or at least misinformed. And that's kind of where Primal came in, to be like, okay, what we're going to do is that instead of you just, throwing your body to the wolves and hoping it holds up across the intensities, you're just going to start training and preparing for these moments, right? So that was really the first time I started training movement patterns and things like Jefferson curls, like zertering movements, like thoracic extension, flexion, rotation, all these different movements that were then going to help me build resilience in that capacity. That's when it all changed. And that's kind of the thing that started the flywheel of all that training. And now it's just, you can't even begin to explain what it feels like, because I've gone from fearing certain movements, being in pain all the time, maybe even being in a good enough place that I could lift something or train the way I wanted to, but I was coming home with my body absolutely riddled. And as a non-pro athlete, when you're like, I can't even go to work today because I'm so sore, like that's no good to anybody. I can't even be a father, can't even pick up my son, can't change his diaper.
Yep.
I've gone from that to now being able to, like, I could confidently not warm up and pretty much go into any workout and I know I'll be okay.
Yes.
It's not ideal. Of course, I still want to warm up. I want to do that, of course, but I don't have to. Or if I do, it's like very, very, very broad kind of warm up. And it's so empowering to be able to do that, because I feel like I'm just ready all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that way too. And having the warm up in my gym, obviously, like you said, every gym has a warm up, right? I'm able to implement things that I need to a little extra for whatever workout that is. So if we're doing, like the other day, we were doing the ones where you put the PVC pipe and you walk back and you drop your head between your shoulders. So what I did on that is I activated the way that we do in Primal. Usually we do it like kneeling with one hand or something like that. And I was like, okay, well, I need to activate. So I'm pushing down, activating. And then I actually added that cat-cow as I'm standing there, because I was like, I need this flexion and movement in my spine, because I forget what the workout was. And then if he's standing there and he's talking and I have a PVC pipe, I actually laterally lean back and forth, because I lateral now. We hang side to side. We just don't go front and back anymore. Or I'm twisting and completely rotating my spine to get me ready for whatever it is. If we're doing lunges, right? Or we're doing like the world's strongest or the world's greatest stretch, I think is what they call it. I'm really pushing out my hip, or I'm really leaning into it, and I'm like applying Primal while I'm doing it, but without being disruptive or feeling like I need to come in 20 minutes before that to warm up before the workout. And that's really exciting. Like, it's really freaking exciting to be able to go in and warm up with the class and not feel like you have to go and warm up again and being scared about things. And I'm just not. And it's all here. And I know every time that you guys come on this podcast, we talk about like my personal mental game, but I feel like it's so much of people's journeys is the mental game. So for you, how much do you talk about the mental game with the clients that you help and support within Primal?
I'm trying to hide my excitement. I'm getting like nerdy, like a giddy nerdiness kind of with what you're talking about here, because it's the exact process that I went through. And what it is, it's intention. Is that, and this is almost like devoid of Primal in our programming. And that's also how you know that you're having a perspective shift, which is the biggest thing when it comes to this stuff. Because ultimately, when it comes down to it, when you can just take that focus of intention and trying to think about what am I doing this for, and then extracting that and focusing on it, that is where there's actual game changers. The first thing that I remember learning from Primal was same sort of thing, except it was through a PVC pass-through, right?
Okay.
We all know that person that shows up to class and they do PVC pass-throughs, like just, oh, I'm just here to move, man. Like, just no intent. They're talking. They're not really paying attention. While I'm here, like, elbows high, lockout, all the way through, getting super active in the position. And I was just like, this is the difference. Is like, just not to say that, just moving through the motions is not also somehow beneficial. I think it is, but ultimately, when you think about what you're doing and what the intention of it is, and then applying intensity to that, there's so much more gains. Like there's a whole lot of gains to that. And, not even talking about world-class programming that Primal has, or like our approach and some of our other methodology, like the Primal Big Three. Sometimes when you just apply intensity and intentionality to your warm-up, you actually get a fucking lot out of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's almost like, how didn't I see this sooner? Like I spent so many years just going through the motions and wonder why I never really felt good going into like a squat or clean and jerk or anything like that. And it's just like, if you just apply intensity and intentionality, then you do get a lot. I don't even know if that was your original question, but that was kind of like,
I don't know. I don't even remember what my original question was. That's a testament to Matt. I have to give kudos to Matt, because the first time that I actually had a, one-on-one conversation with him, he said to me along the lines of like, he didn't reinvent the wheel. Like most of the movements that we do are done in most gyms in some sort of capacity. Like you said, a pass through, like you're doing the motion, but the intention is way different. He talks about the intention and what is the purpose of this and what are we trying to accomplish with this. And once you get into that detail, I agree with you. I think that's where the shift happens, because it's not just what's the intent of this movement, but what's the intent that's going to carry you through. Before, I would feel pain and your body's natural reaction is to run away from that. Now I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a lot of pain in my right hip. What are my 3 go-to movements? For me, it's not so much external rotation, it's internal rotation. So I need to spend more time in that internal rotation and then coming through the full range of motion. I need to be in more isolated holds because now I don't feel so much of it in my back, but I'm feeling a lot of stuff going on in my right hip now. So it's shifting. But like you said, it could be a complete identification as to where my issue actually is. I keep saying it's my back, but maybe it's actually how weak my right hip is and has been. My son's going to be 9. It kind of makes sense. We're talking 10-ish years, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of making sense as to where the actual location of my issues are, which seems to be localizing in that right hip. But I'm aware of it now and I'm intentional with it now, because my goal, if I feel pain, isn't to minimize it for that moment. My goal now is to acknowledge it and work on it for the everyday life, So the intention, like you were just talking about, the shift or whatever, I give all of the kudos to Matt and what he has created within the community and as a coach too, and I love the push and I love the tough love that he and the challenge that he gives. He also is like, all right, well, we need to focus on this. So maybe we shouldn't do this. He very much is that type of coach that a lot of us need for specific details that are missed, and I mean, I give that to him. I give that to his personal coaching and his personal little like sprinkle on his programming that makes it way different to where in less than 6 months. And I want to ask you, I don't know if you have it or you can look it up right now. I want to know what my first day of Primal actually is. I don't remember exactly what that day is.
I can find it for you.
But I feel like it hasn't even been 6 months yet, and I'm experiencing pain-free days. It's insane.
I mean, it's probably not far off. I think
I think I'm
feel
close.
like it was September or August.
I think I'm close.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But yeah, I give it all. I give all the kudos to Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting this to. I was totally expecting this to turn into a Matt masturbatory session. Whatever. But I also have nothing but
it won't. We'll talk about it for a couple minutes and then we'll
no, let's go. Let's go. We'll see how long we can do it.
He'll pop in here because I've said his name more than 3 times.
I hope he's here.
Joseph's probably texting him right now and being like, they're talking about you. Come say hi.
Talking smack. No, the opposite of talking smack. No, Matt is a fantastic coach, and it always kind of blows me away his like how balanced he is as a coach, because he knows when to push you and say like, no, your fears are rational. You need to stop being afraid of your back. Go to it. Trust your body. It's just a nervous system thing. Relax. Stop having like this, I don't know, anxiety about it. Just go do it. But then also, like, as someone who gets hyper focused and very anxious, he also knows when to simplify things for me. Yeah. A good example would be last year. Last year for the Open, he every open announcement. I don't want to put him on the spot to say he's absolutely going to do it this year because I don't know. I hope so because it's very helpful. But every open announcement, right after, he's like, "Cool, this is the workout. Here's a fantastic mobility warm up for that." Right.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he'll kind of break down the movement patterns and say, if you could do like 3 or 4 mobility movements, here's like a little primal quick workout to do in preparation for 26.1. How about it?
Yeah.
And I was looking at one of them. I was like, "Oh, well, the wall walks. Like, there's a lot of wall walks. And my wrists. What am I going to do with my wrists?" He's like, "Dude, chill. You don't need to warm up your wrists like that. You need to focus on your thoracic and your shoulder flexion. Those are like the big movers." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you're right. I'm getting like hyper focused. Like I need to warm up my digits and like everything that's involved."
Where you start to go like this, like my fingers.
Like I need to do everything like that. He's like, "No, focus on the big movers. Those big things that require your attention. Everything else will fall into place." And that's kind of like, yeah, you're right. Everything is core to extremity, right? You need to focus on the big movers in the body before you start looking at the small things. So yeah, that's one moment that stands out, especially with the Open coming up, where I was like, yeah, damn, that's such a good coach. He knows like when to push, when to pull.
Are you having any clients right now within Primal that are like freaking out about the Open, that are starting to have that nervousness around past injuries and stuff like that, or like already kind of trying to get you guys to be like, hey, remember that back thing I experienced like 2 years ago when I first started this with you guys? Like, how can we, like, do you feel any of that with anybody?
Not outwardly. I would imagine that, I can't speak.
Oh yeah, Garrett kind of asked this question. Do people freak out and call you when the workouts are announced? Yeah, kind of same thing I'm asking.
I would say Matt's phone is probably blowing up a lot more than mine. I don't think anyone comes to me for mobility advice. They're like, I got Matt's phone on speed dial. He probably gets a lot more DMs from people about like, hey, my shoulder does this weird thing. What can I do? I'm sure he does his best to navigate that, but I would venture to assume that almost anyone who's had any amount of pain or a serious injury at any point, or even a minor chronic injury, that there's going to be some worry around the Open, especially when they see a movement that's not particularly great for them, whether it be a deadlift, whether it be wall walk or a clean and jerk or something like that. Any weakness that you've been exposed to in the past naturally just does cause a little bit of anxiety. I can speak for myself and say that I am nervous about shit. I'm pretty confident what I'm able to do now. I mean, if there was like a 315 deadlift for, 55 reps, I'd probably be a little bit nervous about not being able to do it. But in terms of how my body's going to hold up, I'm good.
You're good.
I've been doing Primal for like solidly for a year now. And
you're prepared.
Game has changed. I am prepared.
So if you would like to, you can give everybody your number right now, to check out to call you for any primal advice before the open.
Only cheeked up bearded men can have my number.
There you go. There you go. DM him, Joseph. There you go. You can get that, or just wait till after the show. He'll give you his personal,
just FaceTime
personal line. So with that being said, for me, I know that there's going to be a deadlift. There's always a deadlift.
I was just thinking about this yesterday. Deadlift thruster, the guaranteed.
Yes, there's always a deadlift. And I'm thinking that it's most likely going to be that 155. I think one random year I think the women had like 135 or something like that, or 125. It was what
if there's a 22.2 redo? What if we just like,
I was going to say the 22.2 redo, which I think the weight is like 125. I'm not scared of it. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what it is and then deciding how I'm going to move through that workout with however it shows up smartly. Like if it comes up and it's something like a ascending ladder going up by 3, you know what I mean? So say it's one movement and then you have deadlifts and then, you do 3 deadlifts. For me to try 155 deadlift for 3 would be really cool for me to lean into and see how I feel. And then if it goes up, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But going into a workout, if the beginning part of the workout is 50, like the one year they did the 50s or 55s, like if it starts with 55 deadlifts at 155, I'm not doing 155. Like I'm going to scale it. You know what I mean? So I think for me, this is the first open that I'm very excited to see what the movements are, and then really excited to see how I actually show up for each one of those workouts. Whereas if I'm going to allow my ego to get too cocky, and I'm going to see if I can do something, if I'm going to challenge myself enough to be like, don't be scared of this. Like, this is what we're going to, you know what I mean? So I'm actually interested more to see how I show up for these workouts, feeling as good as I have been feeling for the last couple weeks, versus before where it was always fear-based. I was terrified of any movement that comes up because I'm like, I need to get this and I need to get my tape and I need to make sure my belt and I need to do this. Whereas now I look at my belt more as support, like it's supposed to be, and not my crutch, where I have it simply for support, knowing that one of the workouts was it hang cleans or hang snatches or something like that. And I had it on in case, like literally in case I needed it. I didn't put it on to put the Band-Aid on to stop the bleeding, which has been really cool and very interesting for me to watch myself do that. I don't wear a belt when I pick up a barbell off the ground anymore at 85 pounds. That 105 that I picked up for all of those, I did not wear a belt. And that was my goal more than anything. The number didn't matter to me. It was more, I'm going to do this workout and I'm not going to wear a belt. And if I have to wear a belt, then it's too fucking heavy for me, you know? So that's been really cool for me to see that whole shift of going back to what we've said before. And we talk about a lot, again, with me, is changing the perspective around being in fear of it, you know? So that's really exciting. What do you think is going to be 26.1? If you had to guess, are we doing burpees? I feel like we're fucking doing burpees.
I mean, like I'm never one to guess because I'm always wrong. I'm never close. But if I were
Joseph,
to make,
really 10 minutes of bar facing burpees, that would be devastating.
I mean, last year I was really thinking that it was going to be 13.1. I don't recall which one it was. Is the 7 minutes AMRAP burpees.
I thought that too.
I thought that, but I'm pretty safe to say that there will be some sort of usually they just go with like an accessible workout for number one. So I'm thinking something very, very cardio based, minimal equipment that you just full send. But also last year's wasn't not like that, but it was kind of a little bit of an interesting setup with the walking lunges.
I mean, speak for yourself, dude. I got crushed by that one.
Oh no! I mean, like, no, it was hard. But I mean, in terms of the accessibility, like having the
I get what you mean. Yeah,
it's a little bit difficult for some smaller affiliates, I imagine, to have all that space. But no, I can't even begin to predict. I would just say burpees and something pretty accessible.
Something, yes.
I have no idea.
I know. I guess we'll see. What's up, Meg? Can't wait to watch them live. Yes. So I am actually doing so Steve, last year I did every single one of my open workouts live on the Glitten Things Instagram.
Okay.
For some reason, Instagram won't let us live stream it on Instagram. I don't know if you need like 1,000 followers or something. So, whatever the stuff has changed. So I'm actually going to go live here on YouTube during every single one of my open workouts. So if you guys are around, come hang out in the chat. I actually was surprised because I thought for sure, not that it would turn into like the level of Kill Taylor, which I'm sure you've seen of the shit talking, but I thought I was going to get some more shit talking, and I didn't. Everybody was very, very nice to me.
This is like a dare. Are you trying to dare me to shit talk you?
I mean, you can, but I was just saying, I was just pleasantly surprised. Everyone was like, good job, Colleen. I was like, you guys, and I know how you guys talk in the chat. You guys were so nice to me. Yeah, I know, Joseph, you're gonna talk so much shit.
I'll just drop in with some Canadianisms or something, try to
yeah, and then you're gonna have to translate what that means because we don't know what that means.
That was a no rep, eh?
All right, well, before we get on to the news cycle, because Primal has dropped a huge news cycle, I thought this would be fun to share. We started the show talking about snow. Steve's getting snow. If you haven't followed Long Island Wise Guy, you should, because this is what's happening on Long Island right now with all the snow. He is skiing down the middle of the road with his dogs pulling him.
That's
only
incredible.
In New York. Is that something you would see in Canada, Steve?
Oh, you see shit like this all the time. There was a big snowstorm in a place called Newfoundland, which I'm from. Okay. I think it was 4 years ago. They called it Snowmageddon. I don't know the translation in terms of freedom units, but they said there was like upwards of 80 to 90 centimeters of snow.
God.
Which I believe, like, I want to say like 30 inches, 40 inches, maybe even more. Snow. Maybe, I don't know. But either way, they had snowboarding downtown because it's a very hilly place. So like downtown was like this, and all the streets were closed, and they just built ramps.
That's really cool, though.
In the middle of the street, and there's like skidoos going around downtown. People going into bars and like showing up on skidoos.
What is a skidoo?
Snowmobile. Sorry, it's a brand of snowmobile. That it's kind of like Kleenex tissue. It's like
skidoo.
Brand name. Skidoo is a brand name. I'm really showing my Canadianness now. It's coming out. It usually hides, but
no, you can't. You can't. Megan, real quick, Steve, how do you feel about the hockey game? I didn't see it, but I heard it was a great game.
It was a heartbreaker for sure. I'm not a sports guy, so my reaction to that is like, darn, Some people are a little bit more passionate about it, but I mean, I didn't even start watching until about midway through the third period because it interfered with my workout. So
yeah, priorities,
that's the kind of sports guy I am.
Yeah. Absolutely, priorities. All right, well, let's chat about the new drop. Primal Cycle is here. 24-week macro cycle designed to meet you where you're at and have you feeling stronger in your joints than you ever thought possible. There's literally no better time to dive in and experience the spiciness, that's an understatement, of strength-based mobility training for yourself. We're starting this new cycle off with some banger workouts. Oh, whenever he says that, that just hurts.
Did you do today's yet?
No. Elephant walks. That was the one that I did the first time I did that. Last time I couldn't walk for 3 days. The eagle grip hang was rough this morning. Okay, well, I can't do that because I don't have a pull-up bar in my house. So I might have to switch some days around. Usually if there's like a hang and I can't get to the gym, I just shift some days or whatever. But no, I have not done today. But those elephant walks are tough.
It was the hammy pails rails that got me. Those are tough.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That just sounds
I think it was RPE 10, if I recall. It was programmed to RPE 10 also. When you see RPE 10, it's fucked.
So I know that Matt is the mastermind behind all of this, but Becca is the one that puts this shit together. So we always ask Matt who hurt his feelings, but someone hurt Becca's feelings.
It's all Becca. Like she throws shit off Matt sometimes for ideas, but she's the real evil.
She's the one.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that we need to all be.
She should be catching heat, but she doesn't She doesn't catch enough heat.
No, not like Matt does. Matt definitely, usually we all blame him. So it
Yeah.
has a list of things that going to be in this week's cycle. It's designed, the end range program is designed to be challenging. Our mission is to help you build the capacity your joints need to feel like a savage under the barbell. If you want to get a shot for yourself, yep, ERP for 7-day free trial, then use the code GTP27 after that. But let's just break this down a little bit. Break it down for us, Steve. Why is it important, and why would it be something that we do right now, right before the open?
Well, I mean, ultimately, when it comes down to building range, one thing I love about this is the intensity, right? So, like I mentioned, RPE 10. I kind of get like locked in my own head when it comes to looking at the microcycles within our macro cycle. And I take them a little bit too literally, right? So we have build new ranges is our first cycle, first microcycle, stability, movement control, and then strength. So we just came from a strength cycle. Whenever I hear strength cycle, the meathead in me goes like, yay.
Exciting.
Strength cycle. I love that. More loading, a little bit more progressive overload, that kind of thing. So I get really excited about that. So when I come back around to build new ranges, I'm like, okay, I guess I should chill and get more flexible. But the first movement is like an RPE 10 intense thing. So you think it's going to be like a little bit more chill. No, we're actually kind of sticking with the intensity. Every single microcycle with Primal has intensity in it. So the thing I love about this is you're kind of just exploring new ranges as we're getting closer to the open, which is going to elicit quite a response, right?
Yeah.
Many athletes out there, and I've been guilty of this, and to a degree, I still am, that when you think when you join a mobility program that, okay, well, you know what, I shouldn't expect too many results in the first couple of weeks. There's probably going to be, 2 to 3 months before I see anything drastic. I've never heard so many athletes say that they've experienced changes in day one of programming than with Primal. Like it continues to shock me because I feel like I forget my own experience.
Yeah.
Maybe I have some like recency bias that obviously after doing Primal for a year, I don't see week to week changes too much. I see like month to month changes where like, oh, I couldn't do that last month.
Yeah.
But when athletes say I did one 20-minute session, holy shit, what the fuck happened to my body? It's like a game changer. I'm like, I still almost can't comprehend it, but it's all because of one, like how we program and the intention of the workout, but also the intensity that we bring.
Yeah.
So when you see that intensity, I think as it leads to the open, I'm sure there's a lot of athletes thinking out there, oh, well, like how many gains could I possibly make in the next week before the open or during, the time of the open? The answer is probably more than you think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And even if it is that one little thing, I think that we forget that everything in our body is completely connected. So if you go in and you're like, oh, I have pain in my hamstring, why would me doing something for my ankle help my hamstring? Or how could that possibly change what's going on? And then you do something, with Primal, I forget the name of it. I will eventually remember all of these names, but there's so many of them.
Yeah.
It's the movement where it's for your ankle. I want to say it's a Reaper where like it doesn't look like you're doing anything.
Yeah, the ankle Reaper.
Yeah. Okay. That can help and that can change because you are focusing on the ankle, which is obviously leads up through the calf, which goes behind the knee, which leads up to the hamstring. So doing something like that is pretty much what you're saying. So it might not look like or might not seem like that you're going to make these like significant changes or growth within the next, now we're 4 days out, but you actually might get that little bit of something where maybe it doesn't bother you as much. Maybe it doesn't get as tight as, as fast.
Yep.
So being able to look into something like this, when I looked at this too, just reading the caption, meeting you where you're at and have you feeling stronger in your joints than you ever thought possible. I think this is a beautiful marriage between the open season and starting Primal at the same time, because you get to, it's almost like testing everything all at the same time. Where are you at right now? And then after these next couple weeks, I mean, this is a 24-hour, week for Primal, but like with the 3 weeks of the open mixed in with that and being able to test your intensity, test your strength, test your gymnastics, all of those movements, you have so much data to be able to use for the rest of the year. So you have all that information, then you can set up that plan. Hopefully it's not a New Year's resolution or what did you call it? An open
CrossFitters New Year's resolution.
Yeah, it's not one of those, but it's actually this long-term goal of let's continue to work through Primal and see what the gains are long-term for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually looked at it more of like there's a perfect marriage to have all at the same time because you're going to be testing everything.
Yeah,
you're going to have all that information.
You've heard Matt probably say this a dozen times that like the human body is like the ultimate what would you say, compensator, I guess, and that it's going to find ways to do anything.
Yes.
How Primal is going to be programmed is focusing on the 4 major joints, right? The ankles, the hips, the thoracic, and the shoulder. We call it the Primal Big Three: the ankles, the hips, and the thoracic. But you can also add the shoulder in there, kind of, because it is a very complex joint that requires a little bit of attention as well. Find me any
have shoulder issues or have had shoulder tears or dislocations and all that type of stuff.
Yep. And like, try to find me any CrossFit movement that doesn't focus or doesn't use one, if not all, of those major joints, right? If you look at something like a thruster, you need ankle mobility, hip mobility, thoracic extension for sure, and shoulder flexion. That's all of it in one movement, right? So if you can make incremental gains immediately across every single one of those major joints, it's no wonder that, I did Fran. Hopefully you don't have Fran in the open house. And your wrist don't.
That one might break my spirits, but
or all of a sudden you can catch it in a front rack, or the movement is more fluid, or when you're down to a squat, you don't look like you ever see someone move and like you can't really pinpoint like what's wrong, but you're like, I've never seen it done like that before.
Yes.
I've been described as that as well.
Being back in a CrossFit gym, yes. You look around and you're like, that's kind of impressive, but I'm not sure how you can get there because I've never been there before.
Yeah, but when you do Primal, it's like because you're addressing the entire system as a chain, right? And you're focusing on those big major movers. Little gains across each one of those joints can produce some fantastic results.
Yes.
Because I think like the old methodology of mobility really is focusing on specific muscles, right? So you're looking at lengthening the lats or stretching the hamstring or hitting these specific
or opening up the hips and
but Steven's like focus on muscles, right? It's like I want to stretch my bicep or I want to stretch my tricep, things like that. Whereas if you just break down the movement pattern itself, so instead of looking at bicep, tricep, lat, calf, you're looking at ankle dorsiflexion, hip internal rotation, shoulder flexion, thoracic extension, all these things, all of a sudden they translate very, very well to functional fitness.
Yes.
And that's where we see the results. So, I mean, at the same time, it is surprising sometimes when I do hear and get reminded that people on day one go like, holy fuck, this is a game changer. But the more I think about it, I'm like, no, I mean, it makes sense. If you take a very holistic approach to your mobility and you do it with intentionality and intensity, you're going to see results.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. We got a couple questions. Can you explain the difference between flexibility and mobility?
I would like to hear you explain the difference between flexibility and mobility.
The difference
in your opinion.
Yeah. So I believe now that the difference between flexibility and mobility has everything to do with the strength of the body versus how long something can be. Like how long or how like how far can I reach? You know what I mean? Like the easiest way is like, can I touch my toes? Sure. Might be able to touch my toes. That for me is flexibility. Mobility is being able to stand up and not have any pain in my back. So it's the strength of the back. I guess for me, that would be the difference. Like mobility now for me is all about strengthening the joints, strengthening the body. Whereas flexibility, the simplest terms is like, can I reach over here? Can I touch my toes? Can I twist, that kind of stuff.
Yep. I think you're right in a lot of those things. I just think of it as strength and range of motion. And I think a lot of it in layman's terms is just the difference between activity and passivity. Right. So sitting passively in something versus being active in that position is totally different. Right. So the difference between a passive squat and an active squat. Sometimes people go through a passive squat and you're like, dang, you got some crazy range of motion in those hips. You get a barbell on their back and they get active. You're like, why can't you hit range of motion? Why can't I see that similar range of motion? Because there's a little bit of a difference in their flexibility and their mobility. And then you start adding the static versus dynamic aspect of that, and that kind of creates a whole different thing. But I think ultimately it just really comes down to having that strength and end range of motion.
Yeah. I couldn't find that word end range of motion, but I just read end range program. That is the Primal program.
I always say end range. But yeah, like mobility is one of the 10 physical traits of CrossFit, right? So no, it's flexibility, isn't it? I believe.
Flexibility, I think. Flexibility. Yeah. Which
so flexibility and strength, there's two of those together is mobility.
Yeah. But that was what completely changed my perspective around mobility, because I was like, wait, I'm very flexible. So my mobility should be great. That's great. That's great that I can get down into a squat. Squat. I can get all the way down into a squat, but I'm in a lot of pain when I'm in a squat. And I don't have the capacity to handle weight in a squat. Even my own weight sometimes, even just body weight, just air squats, like I would feel pain. So that has been the shift for me, that it is completely strength based. And I know you talked about like how Primal breaks it down into like the bigger stuff. I actually feel like Primal has helped me think of the smaller spots where like you think of the big areas when it comes to strength training, and what is it? It's the quads, it's the glutes, it's the hamstrings. Like you said, it's the biceps, it's the triceps, it's the lats, all of those big things. Primal has actually helped me understand all of the joints that support all of that and how much everything is connected and intertwined with each other.
Isn't it so fun?
It's so fun. It is so fun that I'm not just trying to roll out my quad to release my hip. I'm trying to build up my hip to support my quad. That's going to build up the capacity in my quad, not just with heavy weight, but capacity, like I said, in a air squat. I got to a point where I would only be able to do 5 air squats and my legs are blown up. Why are my legs blown up? You know what I mean? I don't think it's because my quads are not strong. It's because my hips can't handle that. So for me, that's been like the change in Primal, where I focus more on those little things where, like I said, my hand, it hurts, but I don't know if it's exactly my hand. It could be up here. It could be my elbow. I might've done something to my elbow. I don't realize it. You know what I mean? So I'm looking long-term, and I'm not just focusing on, oh, is it my bicep? Is it my tricep? I want to get that kind of strong. Is that necessary? Sure. 100% that's necessary. Strength is strength, and strength is beneficial no matter how you look at it. Bodybuilders, you know what I mean? If you want to just go into a global gym and get strong, I'm all for that, because it's going to help the body. It's going to help the joints as we age. I'm all for that. For us, for CrossFitters, how does that apply for under tension and in intensity? That's what Primal has helped me be able to shift or not shift, but like marry the two.
Yeah. Oh my God, there's so much to say about this.
Say it. You get
the fucking great thing. I know.
I love it.
The great thing about this, though, and this is really, I think, a testament of how you've approached Primal since joining, is that you're really picking up what we're laying down in terms of like the perspective shifts that need to happen. So yeah, of course, it's really important that we do focus on the big movers and we focus on joint function rather than addressing the individual muscles. However, once you start changing your perspective, you start seeing it in all things, right? So I think that's a common saying, like once you kind of see the light, you start seeing it in all things. That's one thing that changed with my training as well, is that not only do I train specific functions of the joints, but now I'm also looking at different muscle positions. So as an example, you seeing the difference with your dorsiflexion when you have a bent knee versus a straight knee, right? So thinking about semi-lengthened hamstring versus completely lengthened hamstring, it completely changes how your ankle dorsiflex, right? And when you do that hinge, you're like, oh, sorry, I should say the dorsiflexion changes how your hamstrings react. And then doing things like training dorsiflexion with a lengthened hamstring and not a lengthened hamstring, and like these different positions where you're doing muscles at length and not at length, and contracted, in flexion versus extended, like, yeah, you can apply it to the muscles, which is great. I think the whole idea behind it, though, is that as athletes, we tend to get wrapped up in the minutia of things that don't really, not to say they don't have an impact, but I guess a good analogy would be like you tend to step over dollars to pick up pennies, right? So as an athlete who may not train their shoulders or their thoracic or some of the bigger movers, and then going like, I need to really address my wrist because that's the problem here. It's like, okay, or you're possibly compensating in the thoracic and shoulder area, which is causing pain at the wrist. Not to say that you should never focus on your wrist, but pick up the dollars first before you
Yes.
pick up the pennies.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how it ends up translating. And it gives me a lot of excitement to see that that's the way you're thinking, and you start training those muscles in those ways as well, because that's exactly the shift that I had in my perspective when it came to training. And then CrossFit is already known about having like a methodology that's so broad, right? There are
Yes.
so many fucking things to focus on, get better at.
Yes.
When you then apply the 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 factor of just like, hey, now you can train all this, but also do it like things at length, bend positions, different movement patterns. All of a sudden, it just broadens your horizons. It's like imagine being like, oh, I'm going to do Diane, but sumo. I don't know, like,
Way different.
or I'm going to do all my squats with a sumo squat or a cyclist squat instead this time. It's like,
Or the Zercher.
or just, yeah, or Zercher.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yep.
for the month of February, I'm just going to do Zercher everything.
Yeah.
For squats or whatever, right? And then it's like
Mm-hmm.
you're just changing everything, and it becomes so broad that you just end up realizing that you're just training for life and you're doing all
Yeah.
these different things for fun. And it, for me, it made training fun again. Not that it wasn't fun, but it just like opened up a whole nother layer of like, dang, there's really no end to this, and you can train whatever the fuck you want. And ultimately, the more ridiculous and fucking stupid it is, the more fun it was for me. So I was like, if I can Zercher anything, I'm gonna fuck it. Let's see what happens.
Or
It's
Jefferson curl. You and Matt doing this Jefferson curl
Yeah.
competition. I did my first Jefferson curl the other day. I know I tagged you in it with it was with a PVC pipe. It was amazing. It was awesome to be able to do that. And that was a big movement that I was terrified about doing and thought that it would take me a lot longer to get there. But we did it in the warm up, and I was like, well, fuck it. We're going to do it. We're going to try it with a PVC pipe, and took my time, and it felt great. Felt great during it. Felt great after. Was able to complete the workout, with no pain, no issues. And so that was really exciting. Going back to what you were just talking about with this, like, it's almost like the clouds parted and all the sunshine came down and you saw all of this magic of all of this information. Is it too much information? I think sometimes when it comes to fitness and it comes to nutrition and it comes to health and whatever, there's so much noise and there's so many things that are like, well, do it this way and do it this way and do it this way and do it this way. And obviously at the end of the day, we realize that simple is better when we simplify things. How do you not get lost in the noise of there's so much information when you are trying to build or follow your own trajectory as an athlete for the gym and life, and then supporting people through Primal as well?
I think for me, it's really about knowing what I want and what's important to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could say that, hey, my place on the leaderboard is like the most important thing for me this year, to the point where will probably reduce the amount of training that I do for mobility, really focus on metcons, improving some of my skills, that kind of thing. But like ultimately, I feel like that's not really what makes me happy and what I want out of life. I really enjoy training ridiculous things to see if I can do it, because that's kind of like the thing that got me into CrossFit in the first place. Was that thing's fucking hard, let's see if I can do it. Or hey, you thought that was hard, why don't you try this? I bet you can't do this. Like that was like the whole idea of the CrossFit culture that got me excited, was just like the shared suffering and the dirty competition you had with people next to you. And like sometimes the most ridiculous shit you would do would be in an open gym time when no one's around. The coaches aren't looking like this fucking stupid complex of
and the coach walks in and you guys are just cleaning shit up real quick so nobody gets in trouble.
Exactly. And to me, it's just like mobility is just like a structured approach to that. So like ultimately what I end up doing, I just do what I find the most fun. And I think that happens to align with what I value in life. Through a lot of my journey with pain, I'm sure you're very, very similar to me in that the freedom that you get for being able to train in different ways is very illuminating. And then if that supports you and what you want to do in life, which is be a parent, not destroying yourself in the gym, then having to come lie down on the couch for 5 hours at the heating pad and take Tylenol, whatever, to go to sleep. Like that's not the life I want. The life I want is be able to train, come home, have my kid come up and hug me, and I, hinge over like a Jefferson curl, pick him up, toss him, around, and be able to bend over and do all these things and not have to worry about like, oh, watch his back. I can just do whatever I want. That is what allows me the most freedom in life and brings me happiness. So that's what I end up doing. But I find sometimes it changes. Like, for example, in the summer, I do a whole lot of less CrossFit and I do a lot of ultra running. I run ultra marathons, spend a lot of time outside. And that's just what brings me joy, because I like to get outside and it's kind of a change of pace. So usually around May or June, that's what happens. But ultimately, I don't know if there is an answer of like not getting lost. Sometimes you just need to get lost and find what brings you joy.
Yeah, I think so too. And it reminding yourself that it's your own journey. I think we trust coaches, and I think we trust, programs and methodologies and stuff like that. I think we trust those. And it's still our own journey. Like I trust my journey in Primal, and I trust the programming in Primal. It's still my own journey. It has nothing to do with all of the other athletes that are in the app that are on their journey. Is it really cool to celebrate each other when you achieve something? Absolutely. Like that is also the cool part of CrossFit and Primal and a lot of these programs. Sentinel Training, same thing. Like you guys all build these communities within the bigger realm of CrossFit, which we all love, to support each other and cheer each other on. That's the beauty of CrossFit. But still staying in my own lane. And that's been a really big eye opener, not just in fitness, but just in my life too, is I'm staying in my own lane. And if you meet cool people while you're traveling down, that lane or whatever, like that's really cool. And if you want to come and hang out and we can throw down in the gym and hang out and chat and do all these fun things, that's great. But I'm not rushing to try to get to someone else's lane. I'm not trying to be in, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to do those kind of things. I'm staying very focused on myself so that I can get where I want to go. And I can take that journey so that I don't turn around and injure myself again. And then I am not laying on the couch, like you said, like we talk about, with the heating pad and stuff like that. For me, my biggest goal in a year of doing Primal, and I've said this to you guys before, is to go to a trampoline park and be able to jump on a trampoline with my kid. I can't do that right now. Even now, 6 months into Primal, I know that I cannot do that right now. I can't wait to be able to do that. That is my 12-month goal with working with Primal. So in order to do that, I know the work that I have to do to be able to get that goal. I was talking to somebody else the other day, and she made a really good point. We talk about that we'll never make it or we'll never be able to reach the goal. And she was talking about it in the concept of nutrition. She was overhearing people talking of like, oh, I can't lose this weight. I can't do this. But then they make all these excuses. Well, I'm not going to give up this and I'm not going to stop doing this and whatever. And it's like, no, you're exactly where you are committed to be. And I was like, holy shit. If you think about it that way, if I keep saying that I want to be 10 steps that way, but I'm doing everything that I'm doing right now is keeping me from those 10 steps that way, I'm exactly where I want to be. So exactly what you said, what is the goal for you? What brings you joy in this season of your training? Not just with CrossFit, with Primal and all, like what's the joy right now? And then you said your seasons change. And so that journey changes for you. My goal is to be able to go jump on a trampoline with my kid. They're individual goals, but we're using a program like Primal for both of us to get there, but very differently. And I think that's really, really cool and has been a really different shift in perspective for me since working with you guys.
That resonates so much, man. Like I used to be damn near 100 pounds heavier than I am now.
Were you
I
really?
was, I was 260 pounds. Actually, I was unknown because I refused to weigh myself because of how embarrassed I was. And I still remember always telling myself, like, okay, I started my weight loss journey and tried doing things, and it wasn't pretty. I did all the stupid shit that people would do trying to lose weight. Did every kind of fad thing out there, but made progress. And I just remember specifically saying, okay, cool, I'm losing weight. That's fantastic, but I'll never be like 220 pounds. That's not possible because I'm a thicker guy. I'll never be that light. And then, saw 219 on the scale. Okay, well, I'll never be like under 210. Got 210. I'll never be under 200 pounds. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
199 on the scale. Okay.
Mm.
All right. But like 190, like I could never get under 190. I got 192. And then someone was like, I don't think you could get down and compete in the 85 kilogram category in weightlifting. And I was like, probably right. Probably can't.
Yeah.
Did. And then eventually got down to 179 pounds as a thicker guy. And I still identify as a thicker guy. I always say, like, I'll be like running. I'm like, oh, the thick boy run club comes. Like, dude, you're like 179 pounds. But like, I always, at each increment, I was like, I'm not that guy. I can't do that.
Yep.
But eventually you just take the little step forward, and eventually you do the things that get you to where you're going to be. So that resonates. I feel you ultimately. And that's what I love about Primal, that whatever your poison of choice, whatever you like to do with your fitness, Primal allows you to do what you want to do, which is, I think, my favorite thing, because I think something that we're focusing on over the next year and we're really passionate about is enabling athletes to do what is keeping them back. One thing that breaks our hearts is seeing athletes out there that are withdrawing from something like CrossFit, specifically CrossFit, because of pain. To say, like, oh, something turns from a random pain to a chronic injury to an acute knee thing or something like that. And they're like, I can't train the way I want anymore. So they suddenly start retreating, and then eventually they quit and move to something else. Maybe they do spin class. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not shitting on spin class, but it breaks our hearts to see athletes that withdraw from pain instead of kind of like leaning into it. I shouldn't say directly leaning into it, but, taking it as a challenge to find something that works. And that's not just, talking about their own frustrations, because I know we've both done the thing of trying all kinds of shit that didn't work when it came to pain management. But ultimately, like, that's where we feel like Primal is really helping people, is staying in the game to train the way that they want, whether that is with a shit ton of intensity at a professional level or just getting to the gym 5 to 6 times a week.
Yeah. And I hear a lot of stories like that. I hear, and not just fitness, I saw a story about a couple that tried for many, many years to get pregnant. So it took me 2 years to get pregnant with our son. And it was to a point where I thought that I wasn't going to be able to get pregnant. And, Garrett and my wife and I had made a choice that we were never going to do the IVF journey, just because she didn't want me to be filled with so many hormones to completely change. Like, that's too invasive for us. And that's just a choice that her and I made. And she was very adamant about that. And I'm grateful for that, because she was protecting me from myself. Because for me at that point, I would have been like both arms open, like, go ahead. How can I, you know what I mean? Because I wanted a baby so badly. And so I'm very grateful for her to, be that protector for me from myself, when she knew how much it was important to me. But also at the same time, she was like, you don't need to do this to yourself, But this woman put up a post and she was sharing the journey about how they did it. I think actually it was Camille. No, it wasn't Camille. It was someone else. But doing all of this stuff and going to the doctor and obsessing over everything and changing everything and wanting it so badly that she was just going out there, and every time someone said, oh, this is going to get you pregnant, give me that, because I need to get pregnant, And one day she just decided to just stop and just trust the process. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And she's pregnant. I think it's been 5 years or 6 years or something like that. And I resonate with that story, not so like, yes, from the pregnancy perspective, but just in general, because we are so impatient and we want things, and we want to believe that everything that everybody says is going to get us to that finish line faster. I have been also dealing with a lot of skin issues and gut issues and whatever. And I have tried so many programs and so many supplements. There was one program that I was taking more supplements than anything else. And my wife is like, I don't think it's helping. And I'm like, but it's supposed to help because they said it's supposed to help. And I reached out to a friend of mine who went through a similar journey. And I was like, hey, I'm having all these side effects. I'm having all these issues. I feel like it's getting worse. And she's like, that's exactly what my journey was until I stopped. Like, we want all of these things so badly and so quickly. We're unwilling to be patient in the process to get there. And it's really fucking hard because I don't understand why it's taking so long to get to where I want to get. But that's usually where you go, like, yes, you need to kind of go over the hills and deal with the challenges and all this type of stuff. But we want it so badly that we do all of these crazy things instead of just trusting that you're going to get there. So hearing your journey about like losing the weight and everything like that, telling yourself, well, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And then it's like, oh, I'm still moving. The needle is still fucking moving. Maybe not as fast as going from, your 200 or something pounds to dropping down to 179 or whatever you are now. But like, you're still moving that needle. You know what I mean? So I just resonate with that story so much because I am, and I admit this, I am the most impatient person in this entire world for my body and my progress and where I am. And so it's nice to be reminded that like you'll get there. It just takes time.
Well, I've seen Matt talk you off a couple of ledges in the group chat that we have. So
yes.
And I'm sure there'll be a couple ledges to still be talked off of in the coming weeks, maybe. But human beings are fucking complicated, man. Like, I don't know, it's weird. Like, you can overthink everything and underthink everything. There's sometimes, the placebo effect happens. Sometimes the nocebo effect happens. If you're really confident something's going to work, it will. And if sometimes you're overconfident, it's not going to work. And I don't know. There's so many things that end up that way. I mean, from a nutrition coach perspective, like I've seen it where people get so hyper focused on losing weight. I'm like, you just gotta relax and trust the process because you're so just like, I got to do this because I have to do this.
Yep.
It's just like it's almost like it's God's will, just being like, nope, you're doing it with the wrong approach. I'm pressing no on this.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. But then
that's what it was when I finally got pregnant. I told my wife, we'll try one more time. Just because we'll do it one more time. And then after this, I'm done.
Of course. Yeah.
And then my son was like, nope, mom, I'm here. What's up, Seema? Have you looked for molding your home? Supplements can make mold gut issues worse. I haven't, but thank you for that. I will look into that. She also had a question. Can you fix a janky big toe? I broke it 4 months ago and now it doesn't look straight despite a boot.
Is that a question for me?
That is, well, I'm not.
I cannot help it.
I cannot.
Definitely outside of my scope.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think I can help a janky toe.
Me impatient? No. Yeah, I'm very, very impatient. Well, last thing before I let you go, I really appreciate this. This has been great. This has been awesome. I always love, chopping it up with you guys about Primal. One of the things that I feel like has also helped my journey is I am not as stressed out anymore. And something that I admire both from you and Matt is just sharing your honest journey of like where you guys are, going through stuff and processing stuff and whatever. And, you made a post talking about, I think it was like a shift. Let me find it. A shift in the gym being your therapy. I think. Oh yeah, here it is. And I love this perspective. So it first started to say like I used to look at the gym as therapy, I think is how it started. I love that you shared that.
You're going to end on that?
I am.
We should have started there.
I love that you shared that story because I think it's such an important story. I think
Mm.
that we find things, and as much as the gym can be a positive place, I think it can also be a very detrimental place at the same time. And the fact that you have made the choice to change what your perspective of the gym is something that was very, very helpful for me. Um, when you carry so much stress, and I definitely attest this to my pain and all of the how shot my nervous system was. I was stressed out all the time. So of course it's going to show up in some sort of pain. And once I started to really pick apart those layers of my stress and really start to let go of a lot of things, I do believe that that is part of why I have been so successful in living some pain-free life or pain-free days since joining you guys such a short time ago. Um, have you felt that with your training? Like kind of once you're peeling like those layers away and working through stuff or whatever, do you feel like that has been part of why you're not feeling as much pain in your body anymore?
I don't think so.
No.
No, I don't know, because I would say that probably some of the hardest times in my life have been like the last 3 months,
Mhm.
and I I haven't had any injuries, um, mental injuries. Jury's still out on that one, but
Mm.
I almost have like two kind of like opposing views that I can't really reconcile. Right,
Mhm.
one being that I've heard that I think it was described by Chris Williamson. At least this is where I heard it first. That trying to think your way out of like a mental problem or like a something a mental issue in your head is like trying to sniff your way out of a cocaine problem, right? It's like
Mhm.
you kind of need to get out of your mind and into your body if you want to solve something in here. At least
Mhm.
that's the start.
Mhm.
So sometimes if you have a mental thing going on, not always, I'm not suggesting that you don't talk to someone, you should talk to someone, but just talking about it more sometimes will only exacerbate the issue, at least in my case.
Mhm.
But I also understand that in terms of stress management, like the body is kind of just like a big receptacle for stress. And I I'm not sure if it understands the difference between emotional stress, physical stress, existential stress, environmental stress, all these different things, right? So I think sometimes when you're super stressed already and you're like 9 out of 10 ready to break, I don't think killing yourself in the gym and pushing that over 10 to 10, 10 out of 10 is always the way to go. But I also understand that sometimes that's exactly what you need. Is
Yeah.
just like turn it
Yeah.
all off, play some loud music,
Mhm.
destroy yourself on the floor, be gasping for air, and sometimes you go home, you're like, I'm much better now.
I feel
So
so much better now,
I've
yeah.
I've seen like I've followed both and I've understood both, and then I've seen exceptions to both. So I'm like I can't really compute the two and make them work out. But I think ultimately when it comes down to that, it's just knowing when to break and when to press the gas. Right.
Mhm.
That reel came from a moment in my life where I say like it was fucking 20 years ago. It was literally like 3 months ago,
Mhm.
where all of the mental pain that I had and the stress I didn't know how to deal with, I just be like, I know one outlet that works. Let me use that one. And that was physicality.
Mm.
So I would literally wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go for a 60-minute run before I would go to class because I felt like I needed it. Right. So I was like sacrificing my already little sleep, getting 4 hours of sleep a night for weeks, trying to get more runs in and do more workauts early while no one's
Mm.
around. For what purpose? Because I feel like it did me some good, and it felt
Mhm.
good. I felt great. I was like, "Oh, geez, I'm getting kind of fit." Until I was kind of just like collapsed. Like I can't do this anymore,
I was
and
gonna
burnout
say
just
not
hit.
feeling so good other
Burnout
places.
hit. I
Yep.
was just like, "Dang, okay, that's not going to work." So I think
Yeah.
I realized that I over-indexed. I pressed on the gas way too hard and went over in a ditch. And I was like, "God, I need to call CAA or something,
Yeah.
roadside assistance." And
Yep.
that's when I went to therapy. So
Yeah. I'm very grateful for the messages that you continue to share. A lot of them resonate with my journey and how I'm moving through, not just Primal, but getting back into CrossFit and, the importance of just everyday life where that's what matters the most. And so I just want to say thank you for showing everything and for sharing all of you know, your stories and it's helping. It's helping other people.
you're
So
welcome.
very grateful for. for that. Are you doing Friday Night Lights at your gym?
I think so.
You think so?
It's a little bit of a complicated situation, but I should find a home to do the open, to have fun,
cool.
with another community.
You're not gonna drive to Matt's house and you guys can do it together. That would be
fun.
so good.
That would be fun.
Yeah, maybe you guys should try to make that happen for at least 1 week.
Maybe
and then,
one day.
And then film it or go live while you guys do it. That would be really fun. So I'll put that challenge into the group chat, and you guys are both so freaking competitive that it probably would happen like this week.
Yep. I think next time I'll see him, I think I'm going to fly out to Ottawa in May for High Rocks Ottawa. So I'll probably. Are
you guys doing it together?
No, we're not. But I will be there. And we'll probably hang out with some Primal peeps. And
good.
See what happens.
All right. Well, you guys should just sign up and do High Rocks anyways. I mean, I'm such a peer pressure person.
Well, I'm always in for a good time.
Yeah.
And putting my body on the line. So
you guys are going there for a Primal booth? Like, gonna hang out, talk about Primal?
Nope.
Oh, just going?
We're just gonna be in town.
There you go.
That's it.
Very cool.
You might see us around doing some mobility shit.
There you go. As always, as you freaking should. So the open starts this week. If you haven't joined Primal Mobility, do that. Use code GTP27. QR code is below. Go get your Vindicate VNDK8. They do have some Primal merch. They've got some Gluten Things merch. They've got Vindicate merch. He just dropped, I think, some new t-shirts and stuff like that. So go check him out. Go support. Trav's the best. He supports us all so freaking much. If you are dealing with snow, stay safe, stay warm. We are still getting snow. So we're just going to be hanging out for the rest of the day. Steve's got some snow. He'll go shovel in a little bit and probably put up a reel about him shoveling with some inspiration that we all love. Stay safe, guys. We love you. And Garrett will be back tomorrow with the political show. So the OG cast is back. Patty Lang is back from Aruba. Poor thing. I think he might have snow where he is. So poor thing came back from Aruba to come to cold weather. Patty Lang will be back. Brianna will be back. I believe Will be there. Jeremy will be there. And of course, my lovely wife will be there. Come check it out. Come hang out with us tomorrow. As always, we love you guys and we'll see you next time. See ya.